Well, hey Maggie, how are you?
I'm good, Brian. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. So I think this is like your first time like doing like a, kind of video podcasty recording thing. Is that right?
I know. Yeah, you'd think with the amount that I talk that it wouldn't be, but here we are.
So you're with Tenant Connect,
Yeah.
and tell me a little bit about like your role, and then we can kind of dive into like what Tenant Connect is and all like the connections that Tenant Connect offers.
Yeah. Yeah. So I oversee business development and all of our customer facing things at DaVinci, and Tenant Connect is a product of DaVinci Lock. So I have really been the person that's moving Tenant Connect along, working with our development team, managing all the customers that are on it now, and working with really great people like Storagely to partner to help get this product in a number of people's hands.
That's great. So for those that like are completely new to like words like business development, basically like are you doing sales? Like that's like your primary like just trying to acquire customers. I mean, you wear lots of hats, but I mean, like
Yeah.
is that your primary role?
Yeah. And sales, a lot of people, it's a dirty word
Of
sometimes, but
course.
it really is. And it's not the marketing piece of sales where we say it's relationship management, but it really is. And I think you and I know this well as we work in products that can be really agile. It's the most important part of our job is getting the product out to people, getting the feedback, and then changing the product based on the feedback. And I see that as like my number one goal and my role is how can I interact and engage with as many people as possible that are using the product and then make the product what they need it to be. So,
Well, I think that's a really like a good summary of like you're connecting people. You're connecting people and helping them make connections, and I think that kind of goes with the word tenant connect. So kind of like you mentioned Da Vinci, but before we like go into like the parent story or the parent company, because like I think that sometimes it gets confusing. Like how did how did Tenant Connect come about, and like why is it named that, and like what are you trying to connect
yeah,
with the
yeah,
product?
buzzwords there. So Tenant Connect, I mean, and it's hard not to bring in Tin Federal and
Of
DaVinci
course.
into how Tenant Connect came about. It really was the brainchild of necessity, right? Tin Federal is the parent company of DaVinci. DaVinci is essentially the parent company of Tenant Connect. And always looking for more solutions on how we can both operate in a remote fashion. Now, that doesn't mean that Tenant Connect can only be used in a remote management style. But how can you continue to enhance the customer experience as a tenant, right? Because that's what we want to do. We make products for companies that serve tenants. Ultimately, that's everyone's end goal. But the goal was how can we enhance this experience for a tenant and give them all of the things and all of the tools they need at the palm of their hand. So that's really where it came about. It was okay, we've got this automated access system with DaVinci. What's going to complement it? What's going to make this experience for a tenant on site when they automatically get their unlock code? What can we also automatically give them? Access to their unit, the ability to do all the things like pay rent and all the things
Right.
that we'll go through in a little bit. But it's just really how could we simplify the experience and connect the tenant to the operator?
Um, so I remember talking to Andrew, and he's with Ten Federal, and he was kind of describing like basically you guys were analyzing the all the feedback and it, like people that were calling or emailing or contacting the phone support. Like why do companies have to engage with tenants? And there was some analysis that was done of like the top 10 like questions that people were asking. That was kind of like his introduction of like why they needed Tenant Connect. What what were some of the like what was the biggest problem that you guys were trying to solve for with that?
Yeah, I think you just hit it on the spot. It's the call center, and I think the cost of a call center. I think for most operators, especially when we talk about like 10 Federal, they have one in house, and that's a huge cost for them, and people is a cost, or and so that's what we were really trying to solve. What and looking at the data of why are people calling the call center? Are they trying to get into their unit? Are they trying to pay their rent? Are they trying to do all of these things? So if we could provide them the ability to do all of these things on their phone without downloading an app, we were like, this makes the most sense in the world.
What's interesting about like your story and kind of paralleling it to Storagely,
Yeah.
it is like how we, got started. So our story goes back all the way like to 1999, like, and I wasn't there. I wasn't an employee,
You weren't
but
born yet.
like, I'm actually much older than probably I look. But anyway, we won't go there. Um, but in 1999, this company started as a printing company, and what's been interesting throughout all of our history is just evolving and changing and adapting to customers' needs. And so we moved from print to web to SEO to digital marketing, and in the process, we bumped into a self-storage client, and this was about 4.5 years ago, and we were doing digital marketing for them. We had done the website, and everything was going well, but the rental system, the piece of checking out on the website was not. It was a third party. It wasn't ours, and so when we were analyzing the data, there was all this friction. The friction was creating low conversions, and we really felt that there was an opportunity to do something about that. And so we said, hey, Bluebird, hey, can give us an opportunity to do this. So they did, and we after we launched it, we had just in a week we'd already doubled their online rentals, and I
Wow.
think that's just one of the reasons why we were so interested in partnering with Tenant Connect, because our stories align in solving for the customer and then ultimately
Mhm.
solving for the tenant, because friction, problems, anything that makes things difficult, people don't want to do anymore.
I think you're spot on when you say like we are, it's that B2B to C kind of mindset that you have to have, right? We're serving the company, but they're serving the tenant. So at the end of the day, we're trying to find ways to make both of us as we are, and all of us in the self-storage industry as vendors are trying to find ways to make the tenant's experience more accessible and easier. Because self-storage should be simple and not to degrade it as an industry, but it is a simple thing to wrap your mind around, but somehow we can make it pretty complicated sometimes.
Like I say that to everyone. I
Yeah.
got into the storage industry. I'm like, it's storage. It's a box. Like, and yet I feel like the decades that people have been in this industry, they just overcomplicated it in some ways. Like I wish there could be like a clean slate, because like
Yeah.
they have overcomplicated it. So with our product Storagely, we actually built our own version of what I consider like my account, and that's a portion of what Tenant Connect is. And to be honest, like, probably shouldn't say this on video, but like, it just never worked. It just was not working the way we wanted it to. And the checkout process, everything about our product was great, except this one piece. And we kept getting complaints, and it was complaints from the tenants. Like it was going through that piece. And so, like, yes, a storage operator is our direct customer, but if the storage operator's customers, tenants are not happy, then they're not happy, and then we're not happy. And
Right.
so we really just wanted to solve for that. And in today's world, I think there's opportunities for us to make choices whether to build and solve yourself or partner with great people who are doing something different. And that's why we wanted to have the conversation with Tenant Connect, because why create something that someone else has already made even better than we could? And that's really how we got into connection with Tenant Connect.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I think it goes back to the piece of like, yes, the bad thing about, maybe not the bad thing, but the complicated thing that we found ourselves in storage is that everything feels more complicated than it should be. But like, thank goodness for great people like you and your team at Storagely to say, we've built it, but we also know together we can be stronger. Which we see a lot of synergy like that in storage, which is so unique and appreciative. So
So tell me a little bit about Tenant Connect as a product. We've hinted at kind of like, it's a way to solve and make things easier for the tenant, and also makes things streamlined for the operator. But what are some of like those big problems that we solve,
yeah,
or
yeah.
you solve, not me?
Well, if only I was a software engineer, but I can pretend to be one sometimes. So Tenant Connect is a web app, and I think that's probably one of the greatest things about it is that tenants are no longer required to download a mobile app,
Hmm.
right? Because God knows what I have on my phone. So it's a web app. It's also white labeled. So we'll take the branding of the facility or your company or whoever you third party manage for, and we will put that branding on the web app. The experience is essentially when you get to the site, you scan a QR code, and then that pops up through your browser.
Hmm.
A couple of really exciting things that you can do in Tenant Connect, and it's very simple, right? It just pulls from your facility management software, but you're able to rent a unit, you're able to pay your rent, you can access your gate and your unit. You can move out, which is actually one of the more unique features on it. So
Hmm.
you can request to move out, and it automatically pulls up your camera. So you can take a picture of your empty, clean unit. And if you
Clean.
send a dirty, full unit to your property manager, they're going to say, no thanks, try it again. And then we also have a section that's very similar for auction buyers too. So auction buyers can go in there, they pull the camera up, they take the photo, they send it, and then your auction process can continue as it normally does. So we thought through all of the pieces of, okay, what's the barrier to entry for this? What's the barrier to entry for this? So if I'm an auction buyer, what is that experience like? If I'm a tenant that's trying to, figure out, do I have to download the app? Do I call the call center? How do we mitigate all those issues and just make it really simple? Similar to, your process when you're renting a unit from the
Hmm.
websites that Storagely build. How can you rent a unit in 5 minutes? How can you access your unit in 5 seconds?
Right. Right. You mentioned the thought process of the app, and I think the storage industry is slightly behind on tech. We came from outside of storage, and the things that we're doing now for storage, we've been doing for like the past 5, 6 years in other industries, and so there's a sense that everyone has to have an app, and I agree with
Yeah.
you because I even tell people I'm like, no one is going to download a storage app like you know our phones are full of apps, and there's probably full of apps that we don't even want, and the
Yes.
likelihood of downloading a storage app. So there are other vendors who are going the app route. Can you speak about that a little bit, and why that's such an important piece to your sales process, and why it's more advantageous for people to use the web app versus a true app that's on your phone?
Yeah. Yeah. I think you hit it spot on. It's like, why would I have to download an app if I don't have to or I don't want to? I was at an event this weekend and I made all of my friends download the app, and I was like, I'm just going to lean on you guys. Like just out of pure laziness, I forgot my Apple ID password, and I was like, I don't want to go through the rigmarole. I'm just going to depend on you guys. But we don't
Was that a
always
good
have
choice?
that. Yeah, I made it out alive.
Okay.
I just followed my friends around.
Okay.
I knew where I was going. But we don't always have our friends to
Hmm.
download the app for us at a storage facility. So
Right.
it really does. And is it necessarily going to be the thing that prevents somebody from renting a space at that facility? Probably not, but it might say, okay, I didn't love my experience here. I don't love that I have to do this. So it's going to make somebody call the front desk or call the call center. And
Right.
that's costly. That
Right.
that hits your bottom line. So thinking about the ways that if I was a tenant and I was, as I am, lazy, didn't want to download the app, if I'm not going to do it, then why should we make somebody do that?
And I think you bring up a good point, just of not just from people being lazy, which we all are. It's also a sense of storage facilities are like, obviously there are storage facilities in like big cities like New York and Miami and things like that, but then many storage facilities are in like Podukville. I mean, they're middle of
Sure.
nowhere, and the cell service is not that great. And so if you're asking someone to download an app to be able to engage with you, and they don't have good cell service, that's a barrier to entry.
Absolutely. It's a great
You know,
point.
so thinking about, you know, you mentioned the concept of ease of access. I want to talk about the passwords and logging in, because you talked about this weekend, like you didn't want to have to get your password for Apple ID, and I told my wife, like, whoever solves the password problem in the world is going to be the richest person in the world.
Yeah, we'll talk after this recording. We'll figure that out
Okay. All
because
right.
I change it every time I log into something.
100%. So how does Tenant Connect make the password issue go away?
Yeah. So you start out, so if you're going to a facility, either you're renting a unit or you already have a space there, you're scanning a QR code. So you scan the QR code and it's dynamic. So if you move locations or you move the QR code around the space, we give you that link. It's really easy for you to access. You scan the QR code, it pulls up the Safari browser or Google Chrome, whatever you use
Mhm.
on your phone. And everything is OTP verified with your phone number. And
Right.
that comes in from the
And
integration with your
what
facility.
OTP, just for those that are
One time password.
okay.
Thank you. You're testing
Yeah.
me here. I appreciate
Hey.
that. Um, One time password, like all of my passwords, I've only used
Hmm.
them once.
Yep.
So you log in with your phone, it recognizes it from your facility management software, and then it remembers you in that browsing history. So
Right.
you are then remembered, you're authorized, and we also have geolocation. So when you scan that QR code, it's automatically going to pull up the facility that you are closest to. So
Mm.
ideally, if you're scanning this QR code, you're at the facility. Hopefully, you're at the right facility. This is your facility.
Right.
Similarly, if you're renting a unit or you pull up to a space and you are not a tenant there yet, it's going to recognize you as we're going to assume that you're already going to rent a space in that geolocation. So you don't have to go searching through the storage website or Google, storage facility near me and then the brand of
Right.
the company. So we just make it really easy of like, okay, you're here now, scan the code, get things rolling, make it really simple for the tenant.
So you've mentioned a lot about just the people using Tenant Connect to rent. I mean, to be honest, our use case has really been to solve the my account piece, but it really sounds
Yes.
like there's really an opportunity to encourage people to rent through Tenant Connect, which brings you to the website. Um,
A Storagely website, perhaps.
Storage website, perhaps. Yeah, that would be the best option, right?
Absolutely.
But everyone is trying to solve this manless, humanless, whatever you want to call it, remote management piece. They have kiosks and they have video, but it really sounds like Tenant Connect is able to step into something and provide people who may not have the tech or the manpower and maybe even just the funds to be able to offer that kind of experience when someone walks through the door with kiosks and all that other stuff. Is that how people are sometimes using it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, in this day and age, we don't always want to talk to somebody, right? We don't always want to call the phone or
I
walk
do
up to
not.
a
I
desk.
I know we're talking today, but I hate like I hate picking up the phone. I hate it. If you don't text me,
And
I don't talk to you.
a lot of people are like that. It doesn't matter what generation you're in
Hmm.
or I mean, sometimes it just depends on the day. Like, do I really want to call a call center and hit one to talk to somebody new or all those things? And we do provide those options within Tenant Connect too. There's a contact us button in there. It can connect somebody to your call center and email. So we give those options, but it also just makes it really easier if you're just, I want to get up there, I want to rent a space. 10 Federal is doing something really cool with it, kind of like a drive up, like a Target or a Chick-fil-A. If you go and you scan a
Hmm.
code, you can sit in your car, you rent a unit it takes you out to your Storagely website, you rent
Yeah.
your unit. Once you rent, you get your code, you're good to go. So it does give access to your point, if you're on a budget, if you can't afford, a kiosk, which there are some really incredible things that people are doing out there.
Hmm.
But if it doesn't make sense for your facility, why, get the Maserati when, a nice, just a standard sedan can work for you?
Honda. Hondas are
Honda,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
reliable.
yeah.
So thinking about how simple and all the things, and Storagely has been a big piece of that, of how quickly
Mhm.
you can rent. Would love to hear a little bit about how you guys are thinking about how simplifying and making the tenant experience easier based on how they're renting and all the things you're
Mhm.
doing on that side.
Yeah, what's really interesting is people already have visitors on their website, and the challenge is they're not taking actions. And one of the reasons we identified is most people have never rented a storage unit in their life. I would go as far as say 80% of people who are renting today have never rented a storage facility. Before I got into storage, I had never been in the storage facility. I mean to be very frank,
Yeah.
and as simple as it is, there's some things that are, I think storage operators take for it. They take it for granted that everyone else understands this. And so someone is coming to the website
Right.
and we're asking them to rent something they've never done before and take action to do something that's going to be an ongoing cost. And yes, you have the move-in specials and all that, but like it, if you're getting a larger unit, it can be a couple $100s a month. And so that's the thing that we want to solve. We want to answer people's questions in the moment that someone has that question. And so we kind of say it's we're preemptively answering people's questions.
Hmm.
People want to understand, what are these fees? When are they going to be billed? And what is the access like? And sometimes people come to our websites and they're like, you guys are repeating your information. I said, yes, because two people on the same website, they never take the same journey. They never
Yeah.
see the same words. And everyone's attention to detail is very different. And so what we have found is most websites are already generating the traffic. We just want to convert that traffic faster and easier. And if you take that conversion and you increase it by just a few points, it can make a massive difference on your rental activity. And so some of our experiences, because we integrate with Storage, SiteLink, and SSM, and all of them have different kind of ways to integrate. But
Hmm.
our biggest thing is we want people renting completely on your website, because when someone leaves your website, you are immediately providing fear. I mean, to be honest, like, everyone's radars are up. Like, am I supposed to
Yeah.
be here? And
That's the
that
unknown of what comes next.
right, and that question is the reason why people are not renting. And what's interesting is even in 2024, where most businesses have their online revenue has surpassed offline revenue,
Hmm.
storage is not like that. And I
Yeah.
truly believe it's because the website is just not doing the job it needs to do that. And when people move over to storage, I mean, we're seeing, crazy numbers of increases that it's almost too good to be true. And it's because we're just simply answering people's questions when they need to hear the answer.
Yeah. You make a really good point about somebody can go to the website, the same information is there, but they're on two different journeys. We catch people in very sensitive situations, and
Hmm.
when they come to rent a storage unit, whatever situation that is, and they're going to look for the information that they see, right? And that is through a different lens for two different people. And I think something that I really respect and appreciate, and I think we share this through line between our two products, is there don't need to be a ton of bells and whistles. It doesn't need to be
Hmm.
overcomplicated,
Yep.
but it just needs to make sure that there's some thoughtfulness around the customer journey.
Right.
And that, it's like the empathy you have to take into account of, we don't know the situation somebody's coming from, but we understand how simple we need to make this process for someone.
Definitely. So one of the questions that we have we include Tenant Connect as part of our product. So if you are a storage customer, the solution that our My Account tool is Tenant Connect, and obviously you get access to all of the other features. One of the questions that people ask is, this connection with DaVinci, do we have to be a DaVinci customer? Do we have to use DaVinci locks? What happens if we have a different lock provider? How does that integrate? Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I think that
Yeah.
sometimes has tripped people up
Yeah.
more
It's a
than
great
it
question.
should.
Yeah, it's a great question. It goes to the 10 federal thing too, right? We all kind of work in the same organization, but different products. So the answer is no. You do not have to be a DaVinci Lock customer to use Tenant Connect. Tenant Connect is also included in some of our DaVinci Lock packages. So they work separately, but they work also in harmony together as well. Just like we all of the information is essentially pulled from the facility management software. So
Hmm.
SiteLink and Storage, we pull that information and we just populate it into your white labeled web app. So you could get your gate code from, DaVinci doesn't have a gate system. You can get your gate code there. You can get your unlock code if you use a different kind of lock system that integrates into your facility management software. So it's one of those things that if you want to use it, awesome. We'd love for you to use DaVinci locks, but you don't have to. We want your experience to be easy.
Right. And that's one of the things that people ask, like, do you integrate with X, Y, and Z? And I say we don't need to, because if your tool that you or vendor that you're referencing integrates with your facility management software, that's the hub. So
Yeah.
as to your point, if they're using a different lock system or gate code or whatever, because you integrate with the hub and they integrate with the hub, then everything works together.
Yeah. Yeah. Brian, I'd love to hear a little bit about like we are so excited about working with you guys
Hmm.
and have a lot of respect for your product. What do you see what this means for your clients at Storagely, being able to use Tenant Connect and in tandem?
Yeah, just so for us, kind of our catchphrase right now is, your website needs to be ever growing. It needs to never die. It needs to always have new life. And one of the challenges that in today's world, if everyone is like, well, I'm not competing against Amazon. Yes, you are. Every company in the world is competing against Amazon. But the problem is we don't have Amazon's budget. And so
It's
what
true.
do we do to create that experience down into our own process? And so for us, we're just even going backwards of our history of starting in 1999, we are constantly innovating. We're constantly evolving. We're constantly moving the step forward. And what's great about our product is when we make improvements, regardless of or whatever tier that feature is released on, you have access to that. You don't have to purchase something. You don't have to talk to us. You don't even have to come to us and say, hey, let's build this, because we're already thinking 5 steps ahead of you. Now, what's great about our community is we have partners like 10 Federal who are just constantly pushing the edge. And so they're coming to us with great ideas. But
Yeah.
what's great about that is they bring an idea, we're able to develop it, and then we're able to release it to the masses. And now something that, because 10 Federal is a large company and they have innovative people and they have a tech-minded organization, those benefits are now able to get down to the 1Z and the 2Z companies who just have one location.
Hmm.
And we're able to bring innovation into a world where they may not have had innovation before.
Yeah. Yeah. That constant feedback loop I think is so important as we continue to develop our product and listen. I think listening, that's the biggest thing. And it's great because we get that on the DaVinci side too, and we can really infiltrate that into Tenant Connect. And it's great to have partners in the industry like yourselves and, chatting about what are you hearing, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, how can we make this better? Which I think everybody, to your point, everybody can appreciate.
So speaking about innovation, next steps, like what are some things coming down the pike for Tenant Connect that you guys are either dreaming about or thinking about or even working on that's going to be released in the if you can share anything,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah. Oh,
coming
yeah.
soon.
We've we've got some really exciting stuff coming. I think really centered around access. Obviously DaVinci plays a big part in that, but automating access, thinking about how you're getting into your gate, how we're automating that process, how we're making it really simple for you. So there will be a lot of exciting updates to come in the near future. So keep your eyes peeled. Access is the biggest thing for us right now. What about you
And
guys at Storagely?
yeah, I think AI is something that is on everyone's mind, and everyone's trying to figure out like what does AI mean for their business, and it is changing so fast. I mean, literally every time I open my computer, which is probably frequently, I'm seeing something new, some sort of news article about something that is new because of AI, and
Yeah.
so we're really trying to figure out like how can AI help storage operators understand their data better. And so we're very focused on the marketing piece and understanding where your money is most value. So if you're spending money on Google Ads, is it working? And P.S. It probably isn't, just to let you guys know. But our tool tells you that. It tells you what is working. But we want to incorporate and think about how does AI make things easier, because storage operators, they have a lot on their plate. How do we get answers to things that they need to know or answers that their investors are asking them? How do we get them the answers very quickly? We haven't quite figured it out yet, but that's kind of where our minds are.
Yeah.
For the
I
future.
think that the greatest companies are not admitting that they've solved the problem. They admit that there's a continuous problem solving mission that you have as a founder, as a developer, all the things. So that's exciting.
Yeah. So for those who are going to be watching this like relatively after we release this, because someone could be watching this 2 years from now, but where is Tenant Connect going to be in the next couple months from trade shows? Because obviously trade shows are a great opportunity to talk to people in real life and show things. So where are you guys headed?
Yeah. So in a couple of weeks, we're actually headed to the European conference. So we'll
Oh
be
wow.
in
Are you
Stockholm.
are you
Yeah,
going?
I will be there.
So what
Yes,
country is it? What country is that in?
in Sweden.
Sweden.
So we're
Have you
taking it.
been
We're
to
taking
Sweden
it
before?
international. I've never been to Sweden.
I didn't know
So
that. Maybe
yeah.
maybe
So
maybe next year. Oh wow.
come
All right.
on. We'll
My
meet at
mind
the
is
airport. We'll
rolling.
just fly together. Yeah. And we're excited about that market. I think
Are you
it's
are you doing
obviously
anything overseas right now?
we are. We have a couple of customers, one in Germany and a couple of others. So, as long as your facility management software integrates with us, we can operate anywhere, which
Okay.
is a great thing. And we have a couple in Asia at the moment too. So, how can we provide these solutions to countries that maybe aren't as, and I hesitate to say this, but the United States is storage
Yep.
through and through,
Yep.
but how are we, finding those holes in access, automated access for those in other continents and countries? So we'll be in Stockholm. We'll certainly be in Texas in the next couple of weeks, and then the Pennsylvania Mid-Atlantic
I mean, so
show,
like,
and
why
then
is Texas such a like an afterthought? I mean, over Sweden.
oh
I
no, no,
mean,
it just chronologically
I
comes
understand.
after.
So you're
So
going
I'm
to be at
going
Mid
through the
Atlantic.
calendar in my head.
Where's the Mid Atlantic show?
I think this year it's in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Yep. Yep. We'll be there
You guys
too.
will be there too.
So we are
Amazing.
not going to be in Sweden, but we will be at the Mid Atlantic show, and then we will be in Texas. Um, so
And then
those are
we
back
will,
to back shows. Are you
yeah,
like traveling back to back to back for?
I'll be there. I'll be there. I'm hitting the road. And then what I imagine as two North Carolina-based companies will be in the North Carolina show in November too.
Yes, yes. I honestly don't know how people keep up with all these shows. I wish like we could use technology a little bit better, to be honest.
Hmm,
Maybe that's something we can put out in the air that
there we
people can
go.
use.
Listen, we've got a couple of things to talk about after this.
Yes. Well, good. Well, is North Carolina the last show that you guys will be in? I mean, before I guess the holidays and then rounding
And then it
going to January.
and then it ramps back up in
Yeah,
the new year.
yeah. Are you going to be at the ski workshop thing in Montana?
I will. I will
Well,
be there. Will you?
no. Some of our team will.
Okay.
Christina will be um, um, traveling. Traveling. One of the things when I got into storage, I said to myself, "Man, if I'd known I was going to do trade shows and travel, I don't know if I would have said yes to it." It's just not my thing. It's just not my thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not for
We
everybody.
make it work, but
Yeah.
well, great. Well, Maggie, is there anything that's a tip of mine that you're like, hey, let's leave someone with one more thought about Tenant Connect?
If you're looking for a really simple solution, it is the thing for you, I think. And thank you
If they're
for
interested in Tenant Connect, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
yeah. So you can reach out to myself. So
Hmm.
I'll leave my email. It's mbodie@davincilock.com. Or you can head to our website. Really easy. You can schedule some time to talk with us too.
And there's a demo on the website, right? Someone actually can
There
actually go
is.
to and put their phone number and actually see what it feels like live. which I think is a great thing,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
seeing is believing.
It sure is. Those are wise words to end on.
Well, Maggie, even though it is your very first, you did great
Thank you.
as your debut into the not really podcasty but
Into
online
the studio.
studio conversations. And thanks for watching. If you've been
Yeah.
watching this long, you've paid attention. I appreciate that. If you've already
Yes,
zoomed off, that's okay. We will see you at another trade show.
that's true. Well, Brian, thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. We'll talk to you later, Maggie.
Bye.
Bye.